I remember there was like this one girl in my engineering club and she needed a knife or something. I'm like, oh, you don't have a tool?
Now's your moment.
What are popular EDC items that are useless for a regular person?
The very first one that comes to mind are those little pry bars. But when was the last time you actually pried something open? I mean, do you lock yourself out of your
Yeah.
door often that you would have to break the lock with a pry bar?
I think I like knives more than flashlights. I say like, not necessarily like use more or value more, but I'm talking just like general enjoyment and appreciation. I just like knives more. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Carried Away, the weekly podcast where we nerd out about all things EDC gear and maybe try to teach you a thing or two while we're at it. I'm Bernard, the founder of everydaycarry.com, and I'm joined by our editor, Mikey.
Hello, hello.
So today we'll be answering more of your questions from the EDC community. And every so often, we pull in questions from our followers on social media and listeners who email in. So if you have a burning question you want the both of us to yap about, you can send us an email at podcast@everydaycarry.com. And because Mikey is just so starved for validation, he reads every comment and takes it all to heart. So feel free to leave questions in the comments section too. With that said, let's do a quick catch up, and I'll let Mikey go first. So everyone at home, change that playback speed to 1.25x.
So I'm gonna start from the start of April, and no, just kidding. I've been in a tactical kick lately. I've been reading the latest, some of the latest books from Jack Carr. He wrote Terminal List, and it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like in Mall Ninja tactical brain. So I've been carrying a bunch of like tactical stuff just to like get it out of my system. I've been playing around with like the new Nightcore EDC 27. They're rectangular light with an OLED screen, pretty fun. And to prep for possibly a future interview or some sort of preview, I'm not going to say who it is, but I've been playing with one of these also, the CRKT Karambit trainer. So yeah, I've been on tactical mode. I've been on tactical mode the past few weeks, and yeah, I'm interested to see what's up with you, man.
I have been feeling more creative, I would say. I'm bringing back the Ricoh GR3. This is like a very popular point and shoot camera. It's got like full APS-C sensor in a really compact pocketable body. And this used to be my EDC camera back in 2019 when it came out. And I lived in New York, so I could just walk outside, do street photography. And this was really fun. And I kind of stopped using it just because I was more into more of the retro tech and like digicams and stuff, point and shoots from like early 2000s. And that was fun and whatever. But now I kind of want to get back into the craft of photography and explore sort of that side of my brain. So that's been in the pocket, like for sure. It's actually replaced, it's actually taking the pocket space in my right pocket, which used to be dedicated to my wallet. So I've had to figure out where am I going to put my wallet if my camera is taking up that space.
Good
so
question.
I have been testing Ridge's new MagSafe wallet system. And instead of my right pocket, I can just pop this onto my phone, which I keep in my left pocket. And there's some learning curve that I'm getting used to, and I'm still testing this out and seeing if it makes sense for me. The way it is right now in its current configuration with like a bunch of cards and like half of them are metal plus cash plus an AirTag strap.
That looks
maybe
like
a little maybe a little OD because I already have a 15 Pro Max for my iPhone, so it's like the biggest thing already. So I might dial this in a little bit more, but that's sort of how my EDC is changing. And then last thing, my birthday's coming up. I'm probably 1 year older by the time this video comes out, but my friends got me a cool little pen. This is the Uniball
nice.
1, and it's like comfortable because it has like a wider grip. Just the barrel is a little bit thicker, but it's still like small and pocketable. But it like rests in the back of my hand there. So
Bernard color as well.
Nice. Yeah, it's like
nice ivory. It's like off-white.
What I don't know what they call this color. But to me, it's like a soy milk. Oh, they call it yogurt. Yes. So
that's cool. Yeah, I like them.
So that's what I'm carrying.
I like the fatter pens. I think I mentioned it in the last episode, but I like the fatter pens. It's better for me to write. It doesn't make my hand cramp as much. Plus, I love the knocker. So I love the knocker on the pen. The knocker on the pen. On the
Okay,
pen. Okay,
yes.
yeah. Let's move on.
It's just called the knock. Okay, just
The
so you
knock.
know. Yeah.
Everybody, get your
So
head out of the
people,
gutter.
yeah, people at home, don't go googling knockers.
Yeah.
That's not recommended. Okay, so let's jump into some of these questions that we've got from the community.
Let's do it. Fresh reactions to these questions, by the way. We haven't prepared for this at all. I'm
Okay,
curious to
so
answer this off the cuff.
all right. So first question here, SlewXX asks, what are popular EDC items that are useless for a regular person? First of all, there's a lot to unpack there, just in the language used. But I'm sure you have a few things that come to mind.
Good qualifier, regular person.
Yeah, because we are not normal. We are abnormal people, apparently.
Okay, so I have a few things, but the very first one that comes to mind are those little pry bars. I can
Mhm.
understand like the Knipex pliers. There was some utility to that, but when was the last time you actually pried something open? I mean, are there like random nails sticking out of your house, or like how many cans of paint do you need to open where you pry something? Do you lock yourself out of your
Yeah.
door often that you would have to break the lock with a pry bar? I get it. It's a nice slab of titanium. It looks cool. Some of them are really fancy, like the really popular
Beer
ah
engineering. I like that
Veer
one.
Engineering. Yeah, I like that one. And the what's oh gosh,
Oh, Northwest? Is it called Northwest?
Lynch Northwest is the popular one that
Yes,
comes up a
Lynch
lot in
Northwest.
EDC. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The Lynch Northwest. So pry bars is my answer. I got a couple more, but I want to know what you think.
Yeah, my mind went to pry bar too. I don't remember if I did have pry bars and I tried them. I tried using like the Gerber pry grids and stuff, and I eventually found a use case for them, which was in my modding toolkit. But that was like very specific and rare occurrences where I needed to process something with just like prying something open. So if I'm like breaking open like an old electronics or something. But the
Mhm.
problem with that is like most of these pry bars are made of metal, so it kind of damages the stuff you're prying open anyway. The only legit use I've used a mini pry bar for is something like opening a can of paint. I've done that once when I like moved and had to paint something like damage on the wall, like once.
I did actually
So
have to open up a crate with nails on it because I got sent a laptop for an old gig, and it came fully hammered in like pallet wood. So I
sure,
had
yeah,
to,
yeah.
and all I had on me, this was during the pandemic, all I had on me was a Gerber Private as well. So I
Mhm.
let this little tiny thing with such little leverage trying to pry open like a laptop, like a really large box, crate size thing with a bunch of nails on it. So there is legitimate use for it. And I see the appeal of kind of like an aesthetic titanium, nicely designed slab of titanium that has some utility and also fits the rest of your titanium stuff. I get it. It's just I
Mhm.
feel like for a normal person, they're gonna look at that and they're like, "When was the last time you used that?" And I have another answer, um, probably gonna be controversial. Patches. Patches are such a big thing in the community, from the Ranger, the 1 inch by
Mm,
1 inch
like
Ranger eyes
morale
ones,
patches,
morale
yeah.
patches, and now they've become a big like signifier of your community in EDC. They can attract. They go for a lot. Some of them become really rare and get traded, and they're like limited edition stuff, event type stuff. Gorak does a lot of them for their own like training events and
Mhm.
stuff. So there becomes like an affiliation with exclusivity with the patches, and it gets kind of crazy. Like a lot of things in EDC, it gets kind of crazy. But for the normal person,
Sure.
they're like, okay, I'll just like funny meme image on a patch. I'm just gonna put it on, or screenshot of a movie. I'm gonna put it on
Sure.
my bag.
But I wasn't expecting you to say that actually,
Mm,
or at least give that reason for why you don't think morale patches are useful for a regular person. But I
mm,
think that like what you described is could apply to regular people, because basically what you're describing is some kind of physical item that signals to other people that you kind of identify with this particular group. And I think
okay,
that is a
fair,
way to build connection or like find your people out in the wild. If
true,
anything, it could also just be an expression of yourself. And I think like regular people do this all the time, just not necessarily with patches. Like it could
right?
be like whatever your water bottle is. Like people be buying Stanleys and like
Or the
Yetis. Like
Starbucks
that
ones,
says
yeah,
right, like, or
yeah,
an Nalgene. Like
true,
those
true. Okay,
say particular things about you this is like in a consumerist way, right? But like
Yeah.
things about you, what you value, and like what kind of person you are, or at least what kind of person you want to tell people you are. And I think patches are like an even more explicit way of doing that, because they can literally say things on there or have like logos of groups and stuff.
Mm.
Or you just want to be goofy and you have like something that's funny on there and makes you smile. So I will argue that morale patches
Fair.
are a little bit more useful than pry bars, but I think it's easier for morale patches to have that use, because pry bars are kind of, they're so self-explanatory in what the intended use case is, that it's easy to discredit like, oh, you're never going to do that particular use case. But morale patches are like not super utilitarian to begin with, so I think
Fair.
they get a pass. I think that's why it's easy.
Yeah. Okay. I've changed my mind. You've convinced me. I like it. And I have heard of cases where the bag community, they spot like a carryology patch or something that's like a fellow community member out in the wild, and that causes them to strike up a conversation at the airport. I think that's really cool. It's appreciating each other's stuff. It's recognizing somebody of your interest in the wild. Yeah, fair. I accept that. That's really cool.
Okay, so I think
I take it back.
what people need to do now is, if you own a pry bar, you need to somehow strap that to the outside of your bag, or just hold it around so that other
Stick some
people
Velcro
can
on
know
it,
that,
and then
yes, that people know you are into EDC and you own fancy pry bars and that you're cool and worth talking to. I think,
or add
I think
Velcro to a Knipex
yeah.
XS and then stick that onto the
Exactly.
patch.
There we
Yeah,
go.
there
You
we
know,
go.
so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get the Knipex on this chain and just rock that everywhere. I think
Dip it in
that'll,
platinum.
yep. I think
Wear
that'll
it on a
go
chain.
over very well, especially with the ladies. So that's what I'm gonna do. Next question, because I'm feeling uncomfortable with my own answer just there. So Robbie Fisher asks, "What is your airport/concert EDC? Places where they make you go through security/no knives."
A bottle of water.
We've never spoken about this before. No, but if you are new to the channel or new to the podcast, we do have several episodes. Like, one is a travel episode, and some stories just about like instances where Mike and I both got burned in this exact instance. And you kind of said it yourself in the question at the end there. No knives. Just don't do that. Just
spend
deal
the
with it.
hour and a half. Just spend the hour or 2 hours in the concert. Enjoy yourself. Just raise up your phone to watch the concert through your phone.
Yeah,
have a drink of water, and then just go home and enjoy your tools again. I think it's the safest possible way. Don't get burned like us. We're telling you now, it's always going to be a risk. No matter what the situation, you're going to have a bad day. Somebody's going to have a bad day. They're going to check the wrong pocket at the wrong possible time, and you're going to get burned. It's going to happen. So our advice is, unless you really, really can't let go of whatever you're carrying, be it a knife or an edge tool or whatever, a pry bar, leave it at home. Honestly, just leave it at home.
Like, I'm not recommending this, but just to consider, like those knives or utility knives with replaceable or removable blades.
Oh yeah, you can just take it out.
Yeah, but then like it just feels kind of sus to just be like, okay, I'm just gonna discard of this razor blade like somewhere. Like, that's not safe, like safe or responsible disposal of blades either.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just like aiming towards like, don't bring that. But other things that you should bring, I would say, I'm a big fan of hearing protection. I just have like a pair of earplugs everywhere. Just like in every bag. Handkerchief. Not as useful in the concert, but also just think about things like you might want a sling bag. We did an episode on sling bags because, say if you're at a music festival or something, so many people, it's there is that risk of something going missing. Like, you bump into somebody and then like, hey, where'd my phone go? So if you have everything up close on your chest within line of sight, there's that security there. But as far as like edged tools for like core EDC work, I think it's just like kind of, I know it might be hard, but let's forget about that for a minute. Enjoy the music.
Interesting. I like you mentioned core EDC. I think flashlight would be safe, like a really non-technical looking basic keychain flashlight. Should be good.
Yeah.
Flashlights definitely a lot more utility, especially if your concert lasts into the night. You have something to walk back to if you're in a darkened parking lot or whatever, extra light could possibly help. I would add breath mints. We always recommend the Listerine breath strips.
Why?
because you're going to be at a concert and like screaming, and like if you have bad breath, it's just bad juju, I think.
Okay.
If you're gonna,
Okay.
if things go well at a concert, you meet somebody, you don't want to be caught with bad breath. You think?
Yeah,
No.
you're right. No, you're right. I'm just like trying. That's a different EDC.
Yeah.
That's the other definition of EDC. Yeah, with
Yeah.
your rave bay and whatnot.
Mm,
Okay, so I think that's those are some good things to consider
yeah.
for me. Let's move on. So David Kemba 23 asks, minimalism versus EDC, who wins for you and why?
Ooh.
Another one of these things where it's like we did talk about this for like 90 minutes at one point in a previous episode, but maybe our philosophies have changed since then. I also appreciate that you said who wins for you and why, as if you've personified minimalism as a person versus EDC as a person. You're just going head to head, just a real slobber knocker slugfest.
Yeah.
For me, I want to say that like the question itself is framed in a way where it's you're pitting minimalism versus EDC as if they are polar opposites or mutually exclusive, and I don't think
No
that's
gray in
the
between
case.
whatsoever.
Right? Because I think you can be like EDC in terms of your intention and your mindset and the effect you're trying to have with the items you carry with you, and they can just be a minimalist set, like a fewer number of items. I think that
Yeah.
that can happen. I think there's space to do both of those at the same time.
Having been on both ends of it, where I'm become a pack rat and also like just leaving the house with my phone and my wallet, my challenge these days is finding those tools which can be like a large amount of utility in one or two things. So one of my favorite things, one of my examples there is the loop flashlight that we have. It has a multifunction bracket on it that has a very, very tiny edge on it. So now I have a
Yeah.
knife and a flashlight in a size that's like just a
Yeah.
chapstick. So
It's like a bottle opener, screwdriver, or something like that. It's
yeah,
got like a
or
bunch
like
of stuff. Yeah.
or like really small Swiss Army knives are always fun. There's a bunch of them you can try in different sizes and different widths and layers and a number of tools. I always like finding. So I'm aiming now for minimalism, but maximizing those minimal things that I'm carrying. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
cop out answer,
Yeah.
but I
But
think
I
it's
think
the advanced level. I think.
I was going to say it makes sense because we have some experience here. I think maybe for people who are new to the concept of everyday carry, and I know for sure I was this way.
Mm.
I looked like Super Mall Ninja, to be honest, because I had all the stuff because I was super excited about it. It was all very interesting to me. I didn't know exactly like what my preferences and tastes were and how these things can fit into my life. So I was like, I'm gonna just carry all this and like, be there for the ride. So I think that is where some people might land, depending on their journey in developing their everyday carry. But I do predict that once you get further along, a little bit more mature in your taste and your understanding of what is truly essential to you, then you will end up having fewer things. And maybe you don't even subscribe to the idea of minimalism or intend for it to be minimalist, but you might just end up with fewer things because you've gone through all the, you've tried everything else and you've narrowed in on just a few things that work for you, and you realize this is really all I need.
And as one of the elderly members of this community, carrying too much stuff, carrying too much heavy stuff becomes a hassle. It's painful for the neck. It's painful for the back. I don't want to be rummaging through a very busy backpack looking for the exact thing I'm looking for. I'd rather like pack with more intent, with fewer stuff. But like I said, does more things or is a very high quality thing of a single purpose thing. Those are the two things I'm kind of looking for.
Yeah. And this reminds me, just so I'm a collector of many things, and I realized that once my collections get a little bit too big, right, then I introduce unneeded stress of managing everything, keeping tabs of everything, and sort of just not maybe guilt or something of just like, why do I have all this stuff? I said I would stop buying, these knives or whatever. Now I have like more knives than I can use or carry. It could be like watches, it could be game consoles, CDs, like whatever it is, to the point where you kind of like fantasize about, man, I wish I just had like a smaller, more curated collection and I can appreciate those things, right?
I was just I was just talking. I was talking fashion with one of my friends, and I'm like, sometimes I wake up and I think, man, wouldn't it be great if I just had like one nice pair of super high quality Japanese denim, one really nice pair of boots, and that's all you wear. You never think about it. It's ultra
Mm,
high quality. It's gonna last you for 10, 15 years for the same pair of pants, same pair of boots, and just like that freedom of like you're already at the very end. There's nothing that's gonna be better than these pants. Nothing gonna be tailored to my fit and be as comfortable as a pair of well-worn in boots that are super high quality that you can resole the rest of your life. And it's just like I have all of this, like just like you. I'm a collector of
sure.
collecting things, and just like I fantasize about just like I just have one perfect knife, one perfect bag, one perfect flashlight, and I'm good for the rest of my life. I just devote all of my mental stress towards
Hmm.
something else, towards something more useful and more creative. I think I have
Yeah.
fantasized about that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like this is actually a great discussion and really enjoyable. And that could probably be another podcast
Mm,
entirely on its own. But I want to leave where we landed here to our listeners to chime in the comments. Because
mm,
what you're describing, though, of this fantasy of the one perfect setup for the rest of your life, I
mm,
think that robs us of the joy of variety, right? Because variety is the spice of life. So,
mm.
I guess to simplify this
True, true.
question, because and sorry to David because we just did not properly answer directly your question, and instead we're answering with another question that's maybe even harder. If you could, would you pick one perfect EDC and that is the only thing you cannot rotate out, or would you have like as big of a collection of stuff as you want? I'm curious what people think, and it doesn't mean like you have to carry it all, but like you just have the ability to have
Yeah.
more than one option versus the one true grail perfect everything, and that's what you have to
Mm.
use for the rest of your life. Let us know in the
the,
comments what you
the
think.
real winner for me for this question is experience. Go out there and experience everything you can and see what works for
Hmm.
you, see what doesn't work for you, and then eventually we'll find out probably. And at the end of our our time here, you'll
Yeah.
find the perfect thing exactly when you don't need it anymore and you move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the interesting part of even that advice of like getting experience is you will end up doing both sides of that question. You will do the EDC side, and then you'll also experiment with
Exactly.
what if I just rein everything in and do the minimalist side, because that's how you get the experience of both to be able to compare and like just
Exactly.
make a decision from a wiser place,
Yeah.
right?
Just try it.
So
Just do it.
yeah,
Just try it.
just try it.
Yeah.
Great.
I
That
love
was
that.
really fun.
Yeah,
Actually,
that
that
was
was super
cool. Yeah.
fun. So let's jump into the next one. Nigel Vansfeld asks, "What is the best first EDC knife for beginners?" Again, I scripted and recorded a video about this on YouTube. So if you want to see like my full answer to that, check our YouTube channel. And there's a video there. So spoiler alert, my answer was the QSP Penguin, just because this is fairly affordable, fairly performant, and it uses a locking mechanism and deployment mechanism that is standard and popular at many different price points and many different brands and many different materials, so that if you're a beginner and you learn how to use one of these first, it will open up a frame of reference for comparing future knives in your journey. So it would be weird if you started with like, what if your first knife was a Benchmade 42 Balisong, you know?
Oh, wow.
That
Number
well,
one,
actually, you'd be
congrats.
lucky. You'd be
Number one,
lucky. Just
congrats.
quit. Just quit. Like that. That is the only knife you need. No,
Number
but
one,
then
congrats.
like you would have like such a weird first frame of reference for
Mm,
all other knives, right? Because it's like expensive, it's rare, it's illegal in many places. It's difficult to use in a way. It's old. Like you don't want that. You want something that is accessible, not too expensive, that is fairly common in its design so that you can just learn the basics basically.
mm.
Yeah.
I literally just thought of a new answer while we were leading into this question, and it's not what
Hmm.
you're going to be expecting. My
Okay.
answer is the Moriniv Eldris fixed blade knife,
Fixed blade, the little
and
fixed blade guy.
I
Okay.
have a really good reason for this. So if you think about, I've been having discussions with some EDC friends, and they're like, sometimes they run out of things to do with their knife. It's like, what do you actually use it for other than opening boxes, opening letters, or whatever? So I
Sure.
propose Moriniv Eldris. You get three additional things that you would want to use it for. That's not commonly going to be used for your regular folding knife. Number one, you can use it in the kitchen, and you can use it for food prep. It's very, very
Yeah.
small. It's not like intimidatingly like chef knife, 6 inch, 8 inch type chef knife. And number two, you can use it outside when you go camping or when you go to the beach or whatever. It's also valid as a very, very compact but still useful outdoor knife. So you can use it for whittling if you're going to start a fire. You can use it for carving for something to do, cutting rope, everything that you would need to do for when you do camping stuff. And it's so small that it's small enough that you would still have a convenient way to carry it as a part of an EDC. So I'm really getting into small fixed blades recently, and I think as a first knife, it's also not very expensive. It's also very low maintenance. The handle isn't like metal or wood or really anything complicated. It gives you a good grip. But the size
Hmm.
of it is going to be very interesting because A, you can carry it as part of EDC, and B, there's more uses you can use for it that's outside of just opening boxes or just like you do. Like, I like your pick also because it does give you that framework and the experience of owning like a regular EDC folding knife. But
Hmm.
I propose try out a small fixie and see if there are more uses in your day to day that you can put a small fixed blade in. That's my answer.
Wow, I appreciate your enthusiasm and how well articulated that was and how excited you were to give that answer, but I think I will just disagree.
Okay,
Uh,
fair, fair.
dude, I don't know, like because if it doesn't fold, it's just like harder to carry, and I feel like that's just like a
Comes with a sheath though. Comes with a
yeah,
nice
but a
polymer
sheath,
sheath.
like the fact that like you have like a sheath and you have to resheath it, and if you don't, it's just kind of like out and live. That blade is like out and live. I think
Fair.
that that's like weird. I think a fixed blade is just kind of weird for people who have never used the blade before, and I think especially in the context of just general everyday carry, I think a folding blade is just better if it's your first time experiencing it. And I
Fair.
think
Fair.
like with something like this, you can do food prep with this. You can take this outdoors,
But
you
then
know?
you'd also have to worry about gunk getting into it and like
Yeah, but I guess it is just something to consider if you do go camping or expect to be using it for the outdoors or wanted to use your knife for the outdoors. I think for most people who are just like getting into EDC, maybe they saw it on Reddit or something and they're kind of more city dwellers. I don't know.
true.
So still two good options, and then if you want two more good options, then check out the full video on YouTube that I did a couple of weeks ago.
Excellent.
So uh, Misael.wave asks, what is your basic EDC pocket dump? Not brands, but more so what tools or items. So I like this. This is more like a general kind of generic,
Mm.
question. um, for me, it's usually, the standard phone wallet keys. And then I'm carrying a camera. And then I also like having, uh, honestly, I like having my tote bag because I carry a water bottle like all the time now. And then I always have a watch
Watch was
and
my answer.
hearing protection. Yeah. So I did, again, on YouTube, I did do like my EDC update, but yeah, generally I like some things that, oh, and I do have a pouch with a small knife, a small flashlight, a small pen, and a small notepad, right? And things like breath mints, uh, hearing protection, and some random medication. That's all in a little pouch that I throw into a bag. And in that bag, I also have something to read. So it's an e-reader or a book, something to keep me hydrated. So it's generally a water bottle, and then something for my creative expression. Usually, right now, it's a digicam, and then the camera that I talked about. But it's usually a point and shoot camera, and then phone wallet keys is like the base.
Same as me. Phone, wallet, keys, absolute basic. The other two things that I always carry with me is also a watch and earphones because those are basically. I'm always paranoid about time,
Mhm.
unhealthily paranoid about time, and I also like having earphones because YouTube and podcasts and audiobooks and some sort of music is always going to be part of my day to day. So whenever I am
Mhm.
like not doing something, I might put some music on. I always have music on when I'm working out or taking a walk somewhere or something. So earphones are essential for me. And the main core EDC I always like carrying is a flashlight. it's I've latched onto flashlights ever since I started in EDC. I always
Yeah.
like carrying it, and I'm just fascinated by flashlights as a whole. I'm still excited about simple flashlights, expensive flashlights, cheap flashlights, and just like the whole spectrum of flashlights is really addicting to me. And yeah, I always have a flashlight with me. So that's the really really core. More than a knife or anything, I would carry a flashlight first. I think just because it's like my favorite EDC thing. So
You know,
yeah,
I used to be that way. I used to be that way about
I became
flashlights
this way
because
because of you.
I know.
Yeah,
Hashtag influencer. But now, like, I think I like knives more than flashlights.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. With the amount
Yeah.
of with the amount of nice new knives that we get to try and that's
And
coming out. Yeah,
I say like not necessarily like use more or value more, but I'm talking just like general
appreciation. Yeah,
enjoyment and appreciation. I just like knives more, and maybe it's because I'm in the privileged position to be able to get sent knives to like look at and share, and it's kind of my job to find things to appreciate about knives and like point them out. But like having done those reps and worked that muscle, it's like coming natural to me, where it's like, oh yeah, I can pick up a knife and just like see the
articulate
intention
what.
behind it. Yeah,
Yeah,
just like what I like about it. I have like a better sense of materials and stuff, and design decisions. So I don't know. It's like really cool. I think flashlights. I sometimes with flashlights, I feel like they the way to stay relevant in flashlights, and I could be wrong because I'm not an enthusiast, but it's like your specs need to be on point, right?
mm.
I don't know how much people talk about the like aesthetic design
Well, yeah,
or you know
there is a big contingent of the community which with like $2,000, $3,000 flashlights using zirconium and whatever
yeah,
macone. Yeah,
but then already like I'm kind of put off by that because it's inaccessibly expensive and it's just through like
yeah,
exotic materials. Like
yeah,
there's still budget knives that are made from your standard like G10 or aluminum or whatever, that with like cool designs or like experiential feel in hand. I'm like, that's cool, right?
yeah.
I don't want it to be like, maybe I'm being
Luxury
hypocritical
for
because
luxury's sake.
yeah, maybe I was like, I'm thinking about like my watch collection. I'm like, a lot of those are luxury, and maybe I'm being
I was
hypocritical.
just about to call you out on
Yeah,
it. What were you wearing
yeah,
again on your wrist? Yeah,
yeah. I have a Grand Seiko.
yeah,
But
yeah. Watch, earphones for me.
mhm,
Maybe a packable tote bag. I like having breath strips as well.
yeah.
And yeah, phone, wallet, keys is the very base.
So nothing too crazy. I don't think there's anything that's like really stands out as like, oh, I need to know more about that. But
Mm.
yeah. So that's the basic EDC pocket dump. It would be interesting to hear what people have as like their bare minimum too.
Mm.
So if you want to weigh in, like leave a comment. So next, Harryo1618 asks, what makes a good EDC pen/pencil? So maybe I'll start with just like why I think this could be a good EDC pen and like what it could do better, right? So this is for people listening. This is the Uniball One. It's made in Japan, and it is a plastic body. It's pretty short. I would say this is, I don't know, like 4 inches
Yeah,
total
four
length
and a half.
with with a small wire pocket clip and
Mm-hmm.
a rear click mechanism, and then it has like a 0.5 millimeter gel ink or some
Mm-hmm.
kind of like rollerball or gel ink. It's not ballpoint from what I can tell. Um, and so, what are some of the qualities of this that makes it good for EDC? Let's start with, I think, portability, right? So for EDC pens versus something that you would just leave on your desk, they might be better if they're a little bit smaller and more pocketable, because
Mm-hmm.
pens are not super comfortable to have like this long, cylindrical thing in your pocket, like
Yeah.
bending over and whatever. It's like kind of weird. So shorter length overall. It has a pocket clip, which very light
There it
apparently.
goes.
Yeah.
Pocket clip's
Sorry,
gone.
just yeah, totally just dropped this pen. So we'll get into why that's a con. Um, what was I talking about? Yeah, pocket clip, easy to retrieve, and it also stops it from rolling away. So pocket clip is useful.
Mm,
And then importantly, it is a rear click mechanism. So one thing I like about EDC pens for the most part are ones that don't have a pen that a cap that you remove and post or stick onto the back,
yeah.
because that is one more loose part that can break or get lost, right?
Click pens all day.
Yeah. So you'll see that with like click pens. I have on my desk, I was using this earlier. This is the Ridge bolt action pen. Again, this is like integrated. And while I have both of these out, so I'm comparing a small plastic, uh, clicky pen versus a machined metal bolt action pen that's a little bit longer. I think one thing that this has an advantage of, the Ridge one, as a EDC pen, is the durability. This machined metal pen will be more durable than this like plastic pen, and it will also add more heft, which is another thing that is kind of useful. You want to think about how heavy is it going to be in your EDC versus how comfortable it is to write with. So already, just off the top of my head, so many factors that go into an EDC pen. But to break it down, I would say size and portability, durability, and then performance for every day. And it's very similar to like knives, where you think about materials and like the mechanisms by which it deploys, that sort of thing. So just kind of see that there.
You covered one of my answers for the material, because a lot of people look for a more durable pen for EDC specifically. That's why the Zebra F701 became super popular, why the Fisher Space Pen is super popular. The other underrated thing, I think, is getting a feel for what ink works for you, or what kind of
Yes.
like the size of the tip, and the type of gel or the type of ink that goes into it, whether you're using a fountain pen or a gel pen or quick dry ink, which like essential for lefties like me. Gel pens with quick dry ink have been really, really useful for me, because it doesn't smudge the edge of my palm because of the way we write. Yeah. And yeah, you want to find something that writes well smoothly with the way you hold your pen, or the way you write with your pen, something with more durable materials. And it doesn't, material can be subjective. It doesn't have to be super expensive. A lot of people really like Sharpies as a whole, in between the gel pens of Sharpies and even like the regular Sharpie for writing with. So it's really finding something that doesn't dry out, that doesn't get broken if you sit on it, and writes well. Yeah, just really down to those qualifiers.
So I think one quality to simplify a lot of the other characteristics we're talking about for what makes a pen good for EDC is reliability, right? So what makes a pen reliable, in that it's there when you need it, it works when you want it to, and you can trust that it'll continue to do both of those things.
Yeah.
So when you think about it that way, it's like it's going to be probably made of metal. It's probably going to be smaller and more pocketable, so it's always with you. But I think going to your point about like finding the right ink cartridge, this is why something like the Fisher Space Pen is so popular, is that it has a pressurized ballpoint ink cartridge. So it writes anywhere, like all the time. It's not the best ink writing experience. It's like not smooth,
kind of scratchy for
consistent. Yeah. But it works when you need it. And I feel like a lot of EDCers value that, or prioritize that kind of reliability.
And the size is perfect for EDC.
Yeah.
It's really tried and true for EDC.
So there's going to be some people who want like the best experience of using, which would be probably something that's like smooth and legible and, satisfying. But then other people are like, I just want it to work all the time, and I don't want to think about that. And then those people, they might want something with a pressurized ink cartridge. All right, we're getting a little too deep in the woods, I think.
Watch our next episode. That's what you should do, really.
Yeah. So the next question, Cian Wilmot asks, what's the hype on EDC pouches? I will pass that to Mikey.
Again, we did a whole episode on EDC pouches and stuff. To answer the question, the hype behind it is having a consolidated EDC all within one package that you can throw into a bag, that you can throw into a sling, and then have your full EDC at the ready. Like you can have a multi-tool in there, you can have a knife in there, you can have a flashlight in there. It's all there. They're not weighing your pockets down. It's open for personalization and design. You can like find Dyneema pouches, you can find X-Pack pouches, any manner of configuration on the inside. You can have them custom made. So I get it. It's all about the consolidation and the convenience factor. That's the whole hype for that, I think. You have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I can throw on some like Bernard philosophy. Just I was thinking about this as you were explaining this, especially the idea of consolidation, right? Um, I think I don't know, like at a psychological level, I hate starting my sentences that way because it sounds like
Here we
I'm about to
go.
say something stupid. I know, but I think humans like one, having a place to belong, and then two, putting things into groups, right?
Yeah,
I think humans just like naturally like that kind of thing, and a
the pack
pouch does
mentality,
both of those
the
things,
hoarding mentality.
right? Yeah, exactly. A pouch is a place where everything kind of fits into, and there's some satisfying aspect of that, especially when you like kit it out with everything you want. It like fits perfectly. Everything's like perfectly accessible. It's like balanced. And it's like that one thing, and you put that together. It's kind of like your entire EDC, but just like shrunken down again into this little like microcosm, like super
It's
distillation of that.
it's the reverse of knolling, and it's also the satisfaction of playing Tetris and just like
Yes,
everything falling
I'm a
into place.
yeah,
There we
I'm a
go.
huge Tetris fan.
There we go.
Except the optimal way to play Tetris is that you make holes in there so that you can
Like a
later T-spin
T-spin.
double and then
There we go.
combo from there. But yeah, so I think there's that, and then also just like people like putting things into groups. So there's something that feels, I don't know, more safe or satisfying or like just right about things going together in one place, and you can just like look at it and be like, yes, that EDC, that
Like
thing.
the
Yeah.
perfectly oddly satisfying where you have a pouch full of stuff and then you fit in the perfectly sized flashlight, boom, and then it just locks in and everything's aesthetic themed and everything. Very satisfying.
Yeah, yeah. Unrelated, but there was a time when I was in Japan and I was sick and I didn't have medicine, and I was like, damn, Mikey like made that like pouch of like first aid stuff. I should have done that. So
And
yeah.
nice that you brought it up, because I do have, my pouch is so small and compact that I do have to actually cut things down to size to perfectly fit that small space that's in there. It's all
Yeah.
it's all a very compact, very very efficient, but has all of the mitts that I need when I travel. So again, that's an alternate version of the EDC pouch. It's my first aid kit, but also very
Yeah.
satisfying to stack in
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
People say like men want one thing and it's freaking disgusting, and it's a perfectly packed pouch. I
Or a
think that's what
perfectly
it is.
knolled EDC. Oh.
Yeah. All right, I got another question for you to answer, Mikey.
Let's do it.
So Eli Elton Koto asks, cheap smartwatches for EDC?
Hmm.
I'm a mechanical watch nerd, so I don't really have a great
Yeah.
answer here.
So Apple Watches are undoubtedly very expensive for a lot of people, and understood. But a lot of friends of mine, to get their fitness band game going, they're using the Xiaomi smart bands. I'm looking at the listings on Amazon right now. There's two versions of the latest one, Xiaomi Band 8. The regular one is $40, and the Pro, which kind of looks like an Apple Watch actually, is $64. So it's still a
Oh,
little, could be a bit more pricey for most people, but it's a full fitness tracker. It's a smartwatch. You can get alerts on it. You can track your sleep and stuff. It's very advanced now. A lot of companies have caught up to the Apple Watch, and you get a lot of functionality for not very expensive. And the aesthetic's kind of very simple. It's just like a cylinder, or it's like a strip of display on your wrist. But
I'm
it's
gonna
the
look that
favorite.
up right now.
It's the favorite
So
of
for people listening, how do you spell Xiaomi? Because that's a
Xiaomi.
Chinese word, right?
Yes, it's
XIAO.
XIAOMI. And then the
Okay.
latest is the Mi Band 8 or Mi Band 8
Is
Pro.
is that MI band or ME
Yes, MI.
band?
Yeah, MI
Okay,
is kind of like their branding for their consumer electronics.
I
So
see.
that's
I
the,
see.
yeah. So yeah,
Wow.
very efficient, very inexpensive. It does a lot of things. It doesn't. I would say it's not as robust as an Apple Watch, because I've been comparing stats with my wife. She has one, and with my friends, and the stats are like way off from the Apple Watch. I feel like the Apple Watch is still more accurate. But
Yeah.
if you just have a point of reference and you're tracking yesterday's steps versus tomorrow's steps, yesterday's sleep versus tomorrow's sleep, and you're
Right.
not comparing with another device, as long as you have that baseline and you're able to track, you can improve on stuff. So
Exactly.
yeah.
And you know what they say? You can't improve what you don't measure. And that's an actual quote, by the way. It's like not just something that I made up as a joke, like I just did before the perfectly packed pouch thing.
How very wise. I like that.
Yes. Yeah. So cool. So good luck to you, Eli, with whatever your smartwatch need is. Next question, probably the most important one in this entire episode. Murti Agar 42 says wallet.
Wallet. Yes.
Let's just let that sink in for a second. Murti is
Wallet.
spitting here.
Yeah.
True.
Well, Murty, yes.
Yes, I agree. 100%.
Absolutely.
Wallet. Yep.
Wallet.
So next, Irish Ginger asks, best Leatherman / Multitool. Again, we did another episode on this, but I saw a post on our subreddit lately that reminded me of what my new answer for the best Leatherman is.
Ooh, let's hear it.
It's the now discontinued Leatherman Juice S2. That thing was goated. I mean, I think I had the storm gray one, which is like kind of like a slate gray with a slight purple tinge to it.
That's the one with the texture on the scales, right?
No, the older ones were a smooth scale.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah. So if I look at the post on reddit.com/r/everydaycarry.
We'll have it up on screen also for people watching on YouTube. Yeah.
The Juice S2. So I had that one. What I liked about the Juice S2 was it was kind of like a mid-size pliers-based butterfly style Leatherman, right?
Yeah.
And it had like a decent, I think there were different flavors of the juice where you could have just slight different tool implementations.
Apple, orange.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So most refreshing, yeah.
Yeah.
The slate gray flavor. Yeah. I love just slate gray juice. That's my favorite. But it got the job done, and it got the job done so well. I remember there was like this one girl in my engineering club, and we were working on a project, and she needed a knife or something, or like to cut something. I'm like, oh,
now's your moment.
Yeah, so I gave it to her. She ended up marrying this other guy, and they're like really cool and whatever.
Oh,
but
no.
yeah, so I don't. That didn't go anywhere.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so that didn't go anywhere, and now I'm out the juice, and it's discontinued. And I think they very briefly retroed it a couple months ago.
Yeah, I think I remember
didn't
seeing
jump
those.
on it.
Yeah.
I didn't jump on it. So
like it was their last ever run or something. I think that
something
was
like that.
Yeah. So my answer is a pry bar.
Really
I'm just kidding.
This fool.
No, real answer. Old answer is Midnight Manager from Victorinox. Real answer is Leatherman Wave. Actual real answer, probably a Leatherman Arc, just because like it's everything I'd want from a multi-tool. So 3 levels there, and you can pick and choose which one you like.
Yeah, but the correct answer is the multi-tool you have on you. No. Cool. So I think we'll probably wrap this up soon. We're almost at time. So let's get one more question in. GT Marinelli asks, best budget knife under $30.
Oof, that's quite a restriction.
That's tough.
Yeah, I have one answer immediately that I thought of. Let me just double check the price.
$30 in this economy?
Okay, survey says it is under $30. So my answer here is the Milwaukee Fastback in race car red that you can get from most hardware stores, and it's coming in at $28.95. And the great part of it is it acts like a modern EDC knife. It's probably built better than a lot of modern EDC knives, and it has a bit driver in the back. So you get multi-tool functionality on top of the blade itself.
True.
So that's my answer.
Super high vis. Yeah.
Super high vis, super utility. You're not going to be scared of using this like for anything, anywhere. It's going to, try it and true.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm curious if there are any of like the Chinese brands. So like QSP has some stuff. Oh wow. I guess depending on if you find it on sale or not. Like Civivi has like the mini Praxis. QSP has the, I don't know what this is, but it's like a...
Oh, hey, our friend, the Ontario Knife Company Wraith Ice is $18.44.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of a stylish, interesting pick from a legacy knife brand, and you may not be able to get this knife for long. So possibly something that could be like an impulse buy. only $18. I think it's pretty cool.
Okay, well, if we're trying to hit a budget of $30, I don't think we should be impulse buying the $18 knife. I think
Yeah,
we
sure.
should be
Okay, fair,
really
fair, fair.
intentional and try to get as much value that we can right under $30. I think
Fair.
it would be a disservice to our listeners to just be like, yeah, get the $18 thing just because it's gonna go away soon. Come on, Mike. Yeah, it's fine.
Victorinox
So yeah,
Classic is under $30.
Yeah, I was thinking about things like Opinel, and like a Victorinox. Those are classic and most likely under $30, but people might be looking for something more modern and like modern EDC.
Oh, bringing it full circle, the Moriniv Eldris is $27. There we go. Mic drop.
I mean,
Circle of life. I got it. We got
it. So the Civivi Mini Praxis, okay, it's like 2.9 inch or 2.98 inch D2 steel G10 handle flipper tab.
Looks great too.
Yeah, that goes on sale 15% off. The MSRP is like $35, so that goes to like $29.
Great pick.
So that might be a good one because like Civivi does make good EDC knives, but
yes.
As far as like accessibility, you might be able to just like walk into a big box hardware store and like grab the Milwaukee Fastback. So, have some options, and that one's multifunction as well with the driver in the back. So,
but let us know in the comments if you have a favorite knife under $30. But
yeah, we're asking a lot of people in the comments. Maybe we should just have them on the show. That would be crazy. I don't know how we can do that actually. I think our producer's like, shaking his head like, no, that's too much work. All right. So I think that just about wraps it up for today's episode. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. And if you're listening through a podcast service and you really enjoy what we do here, please consider leaving a review and a positive rating, as it would really help the show. You can follow us on social media for more content daily on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and all of that will be linked below. And if you want to be part of our EDC community, feel free to hop into our Facebook group or Discord server for more real-time discussion with other EDCers, including Mikey and me. So lastly, if you have any feedback for us or questions you want answered on the next episode of the community Q&A, you can shoot us an email once again at podcast@everydaycarry.com. Thank you so much for listening to Carried Away. I'm Bernard.
And I'm Mikey. And I just realized I also like flashlight knockers. See ya.
Yeah. Till the next one. Peace.
Peace.